Hello, welcome to The Best is Surrey, a new podcast to talk about all things Surrey. My name is Marisa Heath.
And I'm Paul Deach. So the reason why we're doing this podcast and the reason why we decided to, put our heads above the parapet, so to speak, is to really just talk about everything to do with Surrey. So we are both politicians, local politicians. We're both county councillors serving on Surrey County Council, and we have a lot of experience of all things going on in the community. We wanted to share some of that experience with the rest of the Surrey community, but not just politics, anything to do with Surrey.
Yeah, in fact, this will be a podcast that isn't political in the sense of being about political parties. We want to talk to lots of different people from different political perspectives. We want to cover a variety of issues. So we might talk about national issues going on in Westminster that are impacting Surrey. We might talk about the goings on at Surrey County Council or the borough and district councils, but we'll also talk about Surrey countryside, Surrey business, housing, quality of life, what makes Surrey great and where to go in Surrey. I think there's and massive things that we can cover and talk about. Surrey is a big county. There's lots going on, and we both spend a lot of time going across the whole of this county. I mean, Paul, you're constantly cycling around Surrey. Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, well, as you know, about 2 years ago, I made the silly decision to stand up in a full council meeting and say, right, I'm going to give up my car and swap it for an e-bike. It was only meant to be a year trial as part of the greener futures stuff. I ended up carrying it on and I absolutely love it. And yeah, I literally cycle everywhere, all over the country sometimes. But yeah, I don't think there's many places within the county now that I haven't cycled.
No, and do you find it easy? I mean, people talk about cycling across Surrey. Some people say it's great. Some people say it's too dangerous. We need better infrastructure, all of that kind of thing. For me, I kind of think as a girl, I'd have to sort of take a whole load of outfits in and get changed before I went to meetings and things like that. How much of a hassle is it cycling around?
Well, I think you might struggle with it, Marissa, because I know you. You like to look good, and the trouble is that if you're worried about how you look, then cycling is definitely not for you, because you do look a bit daft in some of the the tight fitting lycra and all that sort of stuff, and you can get a bit smelly as well when it's raining, and
Yeah.
with all the gear and all that. But yeah, I absolutely love it. And what I love the most is you get to see the Surrey countryside. I mean, we are blessed with
I've
some
been
of the most stunning countryside in the world
was going to
right here on our doorsteps.
better look at it. I mean, as you know, I've just been a candidate in the general election, and that meant walking huge parts of the Dorking and Hawley constituency. And when you're walking or cycling, you just see things you don't normally see when you're driving. Now, I was a horse rider for most of my youth. I stopped riding in my 20s, but that was also a great way of being able to see things closer, you know. So I can imagine cycling is a way of really picking up on the detail and the things we might miss as we're zooming around and getting frustrated sitting in traffic or dodging potholes, maybe on the.
Well, yeah, absolutely. We do plenty of that. Now, what about you, Marissa? What's your background?
Well, my background is I mean, I've been a Surrey girl for well over 20 years, more like 25 years. I grew up on the border of Surrey, Hampshire, Surrey, and then came to university at Royal Holloway. And I got elected as a borough councillor really early on. I was in my very early 20s and I was still at university. So I've been around in the kind of council environment, working in the community. I'm really driven by doing that kind of stuff for a long, long time. I've done all sorts of roles, deputy leader, led environmental portfolios, corporate management. I've been part of town regeneration projects, all sorts of things. So I am through and out a Surrey girl. And I've been very lucky over the last few years to be the Cabinet Member for Environment at Surrey County Council, which means I traverse the whole county for the countryside, for nature, looking at waterways, exploring literally every part of the county doing that. So I think I've got a real insight into how Surrey works and hence wanting to, I'm just really passionate about the county. I don't
Mm.
think there's a better county, and that's why we called it The Best is Surrey. Where else can you get into London this fast, but have this phenomenal countryside, some fantastic businesses, great communities, huge volunteering schemes, just everything is in Surrey.
Okay, and what about your professional background? What do you do for a living?
Professional background is I run my own consultancy that brings together trade alliances, sector groups. It's sort of bringing together NGOs, industry, and government to solve problems. And most of those problems tend to be around conservation, the green agenda, animal welfare, food production, those sorts of things. So I'm very passionate about that. What about you?
I'm a content marketer, so I create content for digital content for a range of clients. So one of my clients is the National Rifle Association of the United Kingdom, not the same as the National Rifle Association in America. We were the original National Rifle Association, and so I spend an inordinate amount of time at Bisley at the National Shooting Centre doing media stuff for them. But I work with lots of other organisations, helping them populate their social media channels with digital content. Yeah,
Yeah, and it's interesting that you touch on that because obviously I've tried to up my game on my social media over the last few months and I find it a really good platform. But actually, I have noticed having a bit of respite over August how transfixed we are of our phones and our computers and things like this, and actually how it's quite unhealthy if you get too immersed in it. So I that's why I thought a podcast might be a nice thing to do about Surrey because you can put it in your ears basically as
yeah,
you walk your dog, or you can listen to it in the car or whatever, and you don't have to just be staring at a screen. Now, I'm not underestimating the benefits of social media at all, but I just think a podcast is a nice way of just having a chat about things and getting into detail. A social media video, you've got a minute or so to capture people's attention. We can have a conversation about the issues that really matter. We can ask people to come to us and tell us what they want to talk about. And we can go, because we're both quite well connected in Surrey, we can really go and find the experts and the intelligence and the information to have a good conversation about things.
no, you're absolutely right. Podcasting is a phenomenal um, broadcast medium, and I actually started recording podcasts. Oh, must have been about 12 years ago. But the trouble was, it hadn't quite taken off then, and I was a little bit too early with podcasting, and I got a bit despondent by the fact that you could record a podcast with somebody, spend a lot of time with the editing and all the rest of it, and then only get maybe 15, 20 people listen to it is a bit disheartening. But we both have our own social media platforms to promote this now. So I'm pretty sure that this is the absolutely the right time to launch a podcast channel. And the a lot of people listen to podcasts now compared to when I first started listening to podcasts. Gosh, maybe 15 or so years ago. The first podcast that I ever listened to, and I'm still listening to it now, is This Week in Tech by Leo Laporte in America, who's a pioneer of podcasting. And so yeah, I think like you say, it's so easy. People can just put their ear pods in while they're on the train traveling up to London or wherever it may be. Blaze up Spotify, and you'll be able to find us. And we're also going to have a YouTube channel as well.
Yeah, of course. And I think, we can talk about so many different things. I'd like to talk to people on maybe one of our podcasts about what it's like being a counsellor in the hope that we can attract people to consider doing it and to
Yeah,
have a real role in shaping their community. And as I said, speak to cross-party politicians where we can. It doesn't just have to come from one perspective,
no,
right across to speaking to some of our volunteers in this county, to some of our businesses, and really highlighting the benefits of living in Surrey and the things you can do. And at the same time, tackling some of those bigger issues, loneliness, people feeling like they're not included in things, and try and find ways of us reaching out to the whole of the Surrey community and all different demographics.
yeah, I love that. But I also would like to be able to shine light on some of Surrey's best kept secrets.
Mm.
When I'm out on my bike, I discover things all the time that I didn't know about. Like, for instance, I was out on a bike ride in the Surrey Hills last week and discovered that there was a house there that was a training school for secret agents during World War II. I mean, I love stuff like that. And I literally just happened across it. So there's loads of really good stuff like that in
Yeah.
Surrey, and I want to try and shine some light on that. Maybe it might encourage people to get out their cars and get out in the countryside.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, I think that this sort of call out at the moment is to ask people if they've got any. I've got loads of topics, by the way, so there's no shortage of things to talk about. But what do people want to hear about Surrey?
Yeah.
What would they was useful to hear about. We will start covering different issues through September, and obviously being at the county council as councillors allows us a sort of inside look into some of the things coming up that might affect the workplace you live in,
Yeah,
all sorts of different issues. So we'll be talking about those and giving you an insider glance into the sort of daily life at Surrey County Council, as well as keeping our finger on the pulse of what's happening nationally. What does the new housing numbers by the Labour government mean for you in Surrey? Those sorts of things. So
yeah,
I'm excited about this. I think even if we start with low numbers listening, I'm sure we can grow those numbers because
absolutely.
the title says it all. And I think most people living in Surrey recognise how phenomenal this county is, and it is a big community.
Yeah, well, like you say, we're going to properly launch this in September. We'll be pushing that out across local social media, to keep an eye out for that. And yeah, really looking forward to it. So, and also great to work with you, Marissa. You know, I've worked with you at the county council. I know how knowledgeable you are about so many different things, particularly to do with the environment, nature recovery, all that sort of stuff. So I think that's going to be a subject that people are really going to want to hear about.
Yeah, well, I think it's interesting because we're both very different. I mean, we get on, but we are very, very different in our
Mm,
thinking and approaches. I mean, we can have a debate about lots of different things where we'll probably disagree in a positive way,
yeah.
and I think that's what makes it interesting. We represent different demographics, and we've both got different connections to different groups and things. So I think that should make this really dynamic. Yeah, I'm really excited, and the best is definitely Surrey. So let's see.
Absolutely. So we'll see everybody in September. Thank you very much.
See you soon.